I was pregnant with you, and Carrie was tiny, but she had learned to sit up on the toilet. She thought she was a real big girl, so Dad was still in bed, and I had just put her on the pot, and the earthquake hit, and it was a strong earthquake, it really was. And I looked at Carrie, and all I could see was hands and feet. She had fallen into the toilet. She was screaming, I'm screaming for your dad, and your dad was trying to get out of bed, but the motion of the earthquake, he was having trouble getting out of bed. So the next thing I remember was walking into we had, I'm sure you don't remember it because you were so little, but we had how big was that tank?
It was a 15-gallon aquarium.
Yeah. And you used, later after you were born, you spent hours at that. Maybe that's what happened. The top to that, where the light bar is and everything, fell into the aquarium during the earthquake. And smart old me reaches in to pull it out, not thinking that electricity was involved. So I got quite a shock from that, but that's probably why you had an attraction to that aquarium. You used to sit in your little scooter chair and watch for hours. So
That was my TV.
yeah, it was your TV. Yeah, yeah. That was another. And Carrie, it's funny. Carrie, when she was a baby, didn't like to be cuddled. She didn't. I can remember Dad got me a beautiful rocker before she was born, and when I'd start to rock her, she'd cry. And I thought, something's wrong here. But she just didn't like to be cuddled at all. And then you came along, and you didn't want to be half an inch away from me, which I thought was really cool, you know. But for the most part, you were pretty good little kids. You, of course, with your allergies, after I got lectured by Dr. Brown saying, he has allergies, he can't help this, you leave him alone. So, but it was amazing after you started allergy shots, what a difference in you. I mean, this sweet little boy just emerged. And
So prior to that, what was my typical?
you just would cry over everything.
Hyper.
Yeah, oh, he was really hyper. But Carrie, I think, kept looking at you like, what is he doing here? But
What was the cookie jar thing?
yeah, of course I dyed my hair for years, but I think most of the gray came from you. Dad always says his gray hair came from Carrie, but you were, I can't remember how old you were. You were old enough to walk and to climb. But I never left you alone really, but I had gone into another room, and when I came back, there was a chair against the counter, and you were on top of the refrigerator. And I guess you had climbed from the chair to the counter, and then my flour and sugar, the canisters were there, and you probably stepped on those, and up you went. And it was because the cookie jar was up there, and you had the cookie jar open, and seemed so proud of yourself when I came into the room. It was like, see what I did? But I was just so thankful that you didn't get scared and try to lunge off the top of that thing. But you did a lot of things like that before the allergy shots. But you were a good little kid, really. Yeah, for the most part.
for the most part.
for the most part.
Can you share the chair fire story?
Oh, that was such a horrible time for me. It really was. For one thing, that's when we were moving to Maine, and Dad was gone. And so, I mean, I didn't have any problem being alone with the two of you, because with his schedule on the police department, I don't want to say I almost brought him up by myself, but brought you up by yourself, but by myself. But really, he was gone a lot. So when he was back in Maine, it really wasn't, didn't bother, didn't make me upset or anything. But I had been given by a girl I worked with a musical lighter. That was back in the days when I still smoked. And I always kept it on the table beside the chair I sat in. And I'd gone back to the bathroom for something, back to the bedroom, and I think it was Carrie that started screaming, "There's a fire, fire, fire!" And you were just plain crying. I mean, you were scared. So I walked out, and what had happened, I kept like a towel over the edge of the chair so it wouldn't get dirty. The things I used to do are silly. But anyway, it had a little bit of a fringe on it. And I found out later that it was Carrie, but she hit the lighter and it caught that on fire. So the chair, and it was a soft fabric chair, which would go up really fast, but thank God I got it out right away. But then I said, "Okay, what happened?" And she looked at me and she said, "Robbie did it." I said, "Rob did this?" And you were going, "No, I didn't. No, I didn't." And that probably was the first time I realized how much she really did. She went through a phase of lying terribly. Unlike now, she is brutally honest about everything, which is a good thing. But it took me a long time to know that it definitely was Carrie that did that and not you. And it bothered me later on, thinking, why would she blame her little brother for that?
So how long was it from the time that it happened till you knew that she had done it?
Oh, it was a while. It wasn't like overnight for sure. But I really can't remember. I mean, I knew in my heart that it was her that did it, but you can't say, couldn't say it under oath or anything. But it probably was, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, and something was said that made me realize that I actually ended up throwing that lighter away, because I thought, well, that is pretty stupid. I mean, put something out that plays music,
That's right. It was a
musical lighter. Yeah. So
Yeah.
It was a real attraction for kids. So, I mean, of course, those are the days when people didn't know it was bad to smoke or anything like that. The things you kids grew up with, the fact that you rode in my car with no seat belts or no safety seats or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really amazing that any of us grew up prior to all these safety things, but it was definitely a different time, but past 46 years have just flown by.
So we have lived in lots of different places, and you always ask Carrie and I what our favorite house that we've lived in is. What's yours?
that we've lived in as a family.
As a family, yeah. Because I would put money on the fact that your favorite house is probably where Susan currently resides.
Right.
Because that's just
That's home.
yeah, that's home. But
Although now it doesn't look like home. It still should be brown shingles, but it looks very nice now. But
Yeah.
I think probably my favorite house is White Street.
yeah,
For one thing, you kids were old enough where, you know, I really got a lot of joy out of watching you and your friends. Not so much Carrie, because Carrie never brought her friends home. I never could figure that out, although she did tell me that that was her sanctuary.
that makes total sense.
Yeah, and
Just a different perspective.
oh yeah, for sure. And it took me a long time, and there are times probably still that people might not believe this, but it took me a long time to realize that neither of my kids should live their life the way I thought they should. I mean, they're two really good adults, and sure, they made some bad choices, but hey, I probably made more than they did. But best choice I made was marrying their father and having the two of them. So